Desire. This word, at once simple and infinite, runs through our lives like an invisible thread, connecting every heartbeat, every choice, every relationship. We often think of it as carnal, impulsive, rooted in the body, yet it is much more than that. Desire is a primal force, a wave rising from the depths of the soul, and when we learn to listen to it, it reveals the path toward our inner truth. Behind the facade of pleasure and instinct lies an ancient, mysterious energy that Jung described as a symbolic language of the unconscious. Sexuality, he said, is not merely a biological act. It is an expression of the psyche, a way for the unconscious to speak, to whisper through impulses, dreams, fantasies, and urges whose origins we do not always understand. We live in a world where sex is overexposed, trivialized, often reduced to function or entertainment. Yet if we look more deeply, this energy holds something sacred. It does not summon the flesh alone, but life itself, the creative movement, the inner fire. Jung saw in libido not merely sexual but vital, the fundamental force of existence. It manifests in the desire to love, to create, to learn, to fulfill oneself. It is the same energy that drives the artist to paint, the poet to write, the scientist to understand. And when this force is repressed, when fear or shame locks it away, it does not die. It transforms, deforms, becomes compulsion, addiction, obsession. Ignored desire becomes the silent saboteur of our lives. But when it is acknowledged, accepted, sublimated, it becomes light, a fire illuminating the road to our own metamorphosis. In its deepest form, desire is an impulse of the soul. It does not seek merely to possess, but to connect. It urges us to step outside ourselves toward the other, and also to return within. For in every attraction, every fascination, there is an echo, a resonance of a forgotten part of our being. Jung spoke of the anima and the animus, archetypes that dwell within each of us, regardless of gender. The anima, the inner feminine within man, symbolizes sensitivity, intuition, and the capacity to feel. The animus, within woman, embodies reason, direction, and the power to act. These two principles are the complementary poles of the psyche. As long as they remain unconscious, they project their images onto the outer world, giving birth to idealized love, devouring passion, the illusion of the perfect complement. How often do we fall in love, not with a person, but with an image, a reflection of our own soul we glimpse shining in the eyes of another? This irrational fascination, this sense of having found a soulmate, is often only a projection of what we have not yet recognized within ourselves. The other becomes a mirror of our lacks, our unspoken desires, our wounds. And when the projection collapses, when reality asserts itself, the charm fades. Idealized love turns to disappointment, then bitterness. Yet Jung insisted, this disillusionment is not failure, but a necessary passage. It is the moment when the soul stops seeking outside what it must first discover within. To truly love is to see the other in their humanity, without mask or illusion. It is to recognize that no one can fill our emptiness, for it is ours to explore. That is where desire changes its nature. It ceases to be a desperate quest for completion and becomes a movement of growth. It transforms into creative power, an opening of consciousness. Sex, in this light, is no longer a mere release, but a ritual, a meeting of two conscious souls. It becomes a bridge between the visible and the invisible, a doorway to individuation, the Jungian process by which the human being unifies, reconciles opposites, integrates light and shadow. The shadow, that dark region of the psyche where we bury what we refuse to see, our impulses, our fears, our unacceptable desires. From childhood, we are taught to judge these drives, to hide them, to silence them. But what is repressed never disappears. The shadow lives, acts, influences our behavior without our awareness. Jung said, "What you do not make conscious will come to you as fate." And so we repeat the same stories, the same mistakes, the same painful passions, until we realize they are not misfortunes, but messages. What we refuse to see within manifests through the outer world, until we are ready to face it. To welcome the shadow does not mean yielding to every impulse, but giving them a voice, listening without judgment. For desire, even in its most disturbing form, speaks. It speaks of our wounds, our unmet needs for love, our hunger for expression. To repress it is to stifle vitality itself. To understand it is to restore it to its rightful place in the great movement of life. When we dare to bring light into that inner basement, we discover that among the monsters lie treasures, talents, strengths, parts of ourselves that were simply waiting to be recognized. Jung saw sexuality as a symbolic territory, populated with powerful images and archetypes. The feminine, for instance, unfolds in two poles: the nurturing, benevolent mother and the free, instinctive, wild woman. One soothes, the other awakens. One protects, the other burns. Both are necessary, yet our culture has often opposed them. The wild feminine, bearer of transformation, has been repressed because it shakes the established order. But to deny this energy is to deprive oneself of the creative fire, the freedom to be wholly oneself. In men, this duality often projects outward in the search for a woman who is both gentle and passionate, stable and unpredictable, an impossible combination of contradictory archetypes. In women, the conflict lives within: how to be strong without ceasing to be loved, how to be free without losing tenderness. It is by integrating these polarities that psychic maturity is born. The man who recognizes the sensitivity of his anima no longer idealizes woman as a savior. The woman who embraces the strength of her animus finds within herself the direction she once sought in another. Then, relationship becomes a meeting between two complete beings, not an exchange of lacks. Desire sheds its need and becomes a celebration of life. Here appears the figure of the hero of desire, dear to Jung. This hero does not conquer bodies, but his own depths. He dives into the troubled waters of his impulses, faces his shadow and contradictions, and emerges with expanded consciousness. He is neither the one who flees desire, nor the one who drowns in it, but the one who learns to channel it, to listen, to transform it. He understands that erotic energy is not meant to be tamed or denied, but directed toward creation, self-knowledge, transcendence. We live in an age where desire is both commodified and demonized. We are urged to consume pleasure while being made to feel guilty for feeling it. This ambivalence breeds immense inner confusion. Jung proposed a third path, that of integration. Neither asceticism nor excess, just awareness. To ask, with each impulse, what is my soul truly seeking through this desire? For behind every attraction, every impulse, hides a deeper need, to be seen, to be understood, to be connected. When we listen to this inner voice, sexuality becomes an instrument of awakening. Desire ceases to be a force that controls us and becomes an energy that guides us, a fire we tend with respect, not to be consumed, but to illuminate. This fire is that of creation, of presence, of transformation. It teaches us that pleasure is not the enemy of spirituality, but its most direct doorway. For in touching the body, it is the soul that awakens. When desire unites with consciousness, it opens new spaces. Sensuality becomes prayer. Union becomes a dialogue between two inner universes. It is no longer a quest for fusion, but mutual recognition. Two beings meet, not to fill a void, but to share the fullness of who they are. And in this sacred space, sex regains its original nature, an act of creation, of love, of knowing. Ultimately, desire has never been an end. It is the messenger, the guide, the gate. It leads us first toward the other, so that we may better see ourselves through them, and then brings us back to ourselves, where the true source of all love resides. In this infinite loop, between flesh and spirit, light and shadow, desire teaches us the most essential truth: that life, in all its intensity, is meant to be lived consciously, and that only by embracing our impulses, emotions, and contradictions do we at last become whole.